just tell us a little bit about how your team went about sort of identifying and selecting a HR solution.
Our need was to have a solution which was very good from a user experience point of view, and so we wanted the experience of our HR customers to be smooth, to be seamless, to be accessible. That's one. And number two, the existing system had a lot of limitations.
Iskandar, welcome to the Rolling Stories podcast. Technology-led transformation, HR transformation, is the topic of our conversation today. As I do when I do these podcasts, a little bit of stalking on LinkedIn, but starting your career with Shell, and then looks like pretty much for the last 10 or so years in the banking industry. I'm always curious about how people got into HR in the first place, like what it was about HR. And then maybe you could just give us a quick flyover of this 15-year career that you've had.
Hi, Philip. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me to share my story. So I started in HR, say about 15 years ago. So my entry into HR was a combination of interest, effort, and luck, of trying to get into the HR space. And I was very blessed to get the opportunity, where the path was open for me to get into Shell through its graduate program, and Shell was an excellent platform to start. But exploring further, I decided to dip my toe into the banking world, and I was also again blessed to join a very fast-moving, large local bank. It gave me a lot of exposure, where there were a lot of transformative projects that I got involved in.
You come into Bank Islam about in the middle of or middle to late 2019. What did you find, and how did you start to sort of formulate, if you like, how did you start to formulate the sort of HR transformation plan? What was some of the motivations? What did you find there when you arrived, and how did you kind of put that together into a plan?
Yeah. I joined Bank Islam at a stage where there was renewed leadership, that we needed to be clear of the changing external environment, and if we do not reinvent ourselves quick enough, we will be left behind. There were a couple of key transformation drivers, where the bank set out to address a transformation program covering culture, covering operational excellence, and also covering digital excellence. So we coined it into a phrase called Code to One, where the C was for culture, O is for operational, and D is for digital, and the E is for excellence. So we're trying to achieve excellence in these three areas. In that journey, we focused a lot in terms of engagement. And when we set out this journey, we wanted to make sure that all 5,000 or so staff of Bank Islam were clear on our journey, were engaged as to the objectives of the Code to One transformation. What is that burning platform that is driving this change, and why we need to reinvent ourselves? So one of the key feedback that came through the staff engagement was this: we need to be a stronger player when it comes to digitalization. We can't possibly be reinventing ourselves digitally from just a products or services point of view without ensuring that internally we are also digitally enabled. So this was then one of the agenda of the Code to One transformation, where we wanted to introduce a renewed system, and also in that system we were also looking for a platform for us to better reach out to our staff, and we also wanted to make sure that the employee experience is elevated. Yeah.
One quick question about the transformation then. So, framing the transformation, the reasons why, there's various elements to it. Technology is one. Just from a learning point of view for other companies, was there a transformation team, or was this just part of your HR teams? Was there any separation there? Was there any sort of focus around how you drove the transformation?
Yeah. So the transformation was bank wide, and so there was like a PMO that was set up by our strategic management team. There's a transformation office that obviously has laid out, and keeps track of all the plans as well as the progress we are making, and try to clear the path, if there were any bumps in between. And it was very important for us to tightly manage this project, because we were trying to deliver this in a time of COVID, where it was still new in 2020, and we were trying to work remotely, trying to deliver this huge project. Implementation partner who is also working with us remotely, and it was a very interesting challenge.
Technology is always playing an enabling role. You've recognized that for HR. You implemented the system last year, as we just said, which means there's probably a good 6-month or more search for a solution. So just tell us a little bit about how your team went about sort of identifying and selecting a HR solution.
Our need was to have a solution which was very good from a user experience point of view. Yes, and so we wanted the experience of our HR customers to be smooth, to be seamless, to be accessible. That's one. And number two, the existing system it had a lot of limitations. So we wanted to make sure that whatever feedback that we got from user experience in the past were also addressed in terms of functionality, in terms of its ease of use. So again, it's around user experience. Number two, we wanted a system that would also help us be more efficient in our HR processes. Try and reduce the manual work. We wanted to make sure that by introducing the system, it would smoothen out and make easier some of our processes. And the third requirement is we wanted a platform which we could engage our staff. So with these three clear requirements in place, so after scanning the scene, and we evaluated our options, and we decided to land on SuccessFactors as the solution that could provide us with which ticked all the boxes.
The banking sector is very highly regulated in every country, not just Malaysia. And as you well know, Iskandar, most, if not all, HR solutions these days are cloud solutions. I can imagine there was a little bit of what's the word? There was a little bit of engagement with Malaysian banking regulators to get that through.
Yeah. So as you rightly pointed out, Philip, our Bank Negara, which is our central bank, has very tight, very clear asks, as far as cloud risk assessment is concerned. And we did not have that experience. And so, if we did not have that experience within the bank, we engaged a consultant who did have that experience to help guide us along the way. So the two objectives of engaging a consultant was to do that cloud risk assessment, one. And number two was to also train our internal capabilities so that, in the future, as we continue with our digitalization journey, there will be more and more engagements solutions that we place on cloud. And so enabling those capabilities of doing that cloud risk assessment was so critical for us.
I think if I'm not wrong, Bank Islam is the first bank in Malaysia to implement SuccessFactors, right? How long did that take, would you say, Iskandar, from when you started to sort of engage with Bank Negara to at least the sort of green light to go ahead? Are we talking like weeks or months? I can imagine it's months, right?
Yeah, it took us a couple of months. And obviously, venturing into a new space, we were a bit nervous, and we made sure that we took our time to engage the right partner, the right consultant to advise us in terms of going through those necessary steps.
I think the implementation was done almost entirely remotely for obvious reasons. Tell us a bit about how that was, how you managed that, and how you got around some of those obstacles.
I think there were two key elements for us. One was to make sure that we project managed it well, right? So despite the physical distance that we had to work remotely, the discipline in project management was very key to make sure that things moved along, and whatever bumps along the way were ironed out. Number two would obviously be working with an implementation partner who similarly had that agility and flexibility working in those kind of difficult conditions. Yeah, so I think those were the two main components.
And again, for everybody's understanding, the modules that you implemented during that time, what's the scope coverage?
So we changed four HR modules. We also engaged for the learning management system, which had a gamification component to it, and we also had modules relating to employee engagement. So we had a platform called SAP Jam, which allowed us, which fulfilled that requirement for us to have a platform to engage our staff. And we also then engaged for the payroll and claims module.
So, as you and I were talking before, sometimes when you implement technology, I liken it to sort of getting a tailored jacket, and after it, you wear it for a couple of months, and you realize there's a little nip and tuck there. So, as we're now in the middle of 2021, tell me a little bit about how you're now sort of using the system, how it's bedding in. How your HR team is using the solution.
I think the bigger bulk of the queries that we had, or questions or complaints that were logged to us, were more in terms of how do I use this? Whatever issues that we faced were minor, and we were able to resolve very quickly with the post implementation support. I think most importantly, especially in a time where we still undergoing lockdowns due to MCO, that remote access is a key enabler for people to continue to get support from HR and continue to be able to do their HR transactions.
Yeah, and so I guess that brings us to a nice point then. Transformations very rarely sort of start and end, within 12 months. You talked earlier on about some of the motivations for the change. Technology is clearly an enabler for that. What does the coming 6 to 12 months look like for your I guess your ongoing HR transformation? What do you feel there's still left to do?
Yeah, the technology transformation for HR is still ongoing. Actually, yeah, we have entered into phase two. It's one thing to have the tech in place, but we also wanted um, our competencies and the skills of Bank Islam staff to be elevated, to be ready to operate in this new world. So we are embarking on launching our Bank Islam Digital Academy, where we want to equip staff not only with skills in technology, where we get them exposed to data analytics. We want to get them exposed to RPA. We want to get them exposed to cloud technology, and at the same time, we also are addressing the softer side of things. New ways of working, being more agile. How do we innovate? What kind of tools do we use? So that's the ongoing piece of transformation. The other piece that obviously we got to work on is considering the prolonged situation with COVID varies rapidly. I mean, it has obviously changed the landscape of how we work. We need to enable them to be more productive, be more efficient. We also got to make sure that we pay attention from mental, emotional well-being of the staff during the period as well. Yeah, so that's keeping us busy.
Bank Islam, if I'm not wrong, has approximately 5,000 or more employees. I mean, in this big transformation, there's the technology, there's the sort of wider transformation in the business. Your actual HR team, is it growing and changing as well in any way?
Now, what I would like my HR team to do is to think, to acquire new skills. Where they are focused on more value adding, more advisory. Moving up the value chain. So I'm starting to infuse new activities, new tasks into their roles. Obviously, this is a process that I need to manage gradually as I also want to elevate their skills and make sure that they are relevant as we move forward. But it's nice to see that many of my colleagues within the HR team are starting to get involved in new type of work. And similarly, one of the other projects that we are doing within the bank is to use this element of process improvement. Yeah? So we want anybody in the bank to have that ability to spot and to initiate process improvements. Everybody has gone through some form of training in order for them to understand the principles behind process improvement. And similarly, within HR, we are undergoing that journey with a couple of process improvement projects.
Isn't that almost entirely what technology is supposed to do? It is supposed to free up the HR function, the HR partners to, as you said, go up the value chain. Engaging work is obviously better than routine, moving paper and approving processes or approving policies and things like that, right? Bank Islam is not the first company to go through a HR transformation, and it certainly won't be the last. If you had to offer any advice to a company about to embark on this, and what can you kind of distill your last 18 months experience down into a few lessons learned?
If I had the opportunity to go back in time, I wish I had the ability to better prepare the team for this kind of remote working, for this kind of new ways of working, where we're able to deliver in very different circumstances. And I think one of the key traits there will be agility, and also will be grit, of persevering despite the challenging times. And indeed, given the situation, we were in a position where there was no choice. We had to get on with it, right? So given a chance, I would have prepared the team a lot more with this kind of traits, with this kind of experiences. And I wish I had that crystal ball back then.
As did we all.
Yeah, and probably being a lot more prepared, especially when it comes to remote learning, remote working, and supporting a more productive, more efficient workforce.
So look, as with most things, there's rarely an absolute end to a journey, but I think the last 18 months, both your entry into the company and then the definition of the transformation scope and the path, and then the execution of your technology play as well. Very, very interesting, and it sounds like a lot more to come. I really thank you this morning for taking the time to talk to us. That's been some interesting insights. Thank you, Iskandar. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Philip. My pleasure.